VBA Day2. Today we are going to discuss the following. A variant is a data type which can hold any kind of value, numeric, string, decimal, etc. So let us declare a variant, and I have written a piece of code. Let us execute it. So type name is a function which displays the data type of the variable that has been passed to it. So initially we haven't assigned any value to x. So let us see what is the data type of x. It is showing empty. Now after assigning an integer value, it should show integer. Now it should show long. So what we can see here is that the data type of x is changing depending on the type of value that has been assigned to it. So this feature of VBA is known as implicit data type conversion. The type is changing based upon the value. Now let us execute this line. It should show single. The single holds decimal point value and it has a precision less than double. So by precision I mean number of digits after decimal point. So for a small value like this, which such a small precision, single should suffice. So let us see. But it is showing double. So we will handle that problem later. First let us execute this code and see what it shows. It shows string. Now we would want to tell the compiler that consider 3.4 as single. We need to explicitly state that. Now let us explicitly typecast 3.4 as single. So we would use the conversion function csng. So for a quick help on csng function, you can always open the object browser by pressing Shift F2. So this shows a list of conversion functions. So now let us close this for a moment and let us execute this code. First let me comment out this piece of code. So this toolbar that you can see here is called the edit toolbar, and if it's not visible then you can make it visible from view, toolbar, and select edit. Now let us execute this piece of code. Now it is showing single. So this is known as explicit type conversion. I have explicitly converted the type. I have mentioned that consider 3.4 as single. So I can also write something like, I want to say that consider it as integer. Now let's see what happens. It's showing integer. However, the value of x, if you can see here, is now 3. Let me stop the execution of the code. So you have learned about implicit data type conversion and explicit data type conversion. Now let's see what happens if we do not declare x. Now press F5 and we get an error message, variable not defined. So in VBA there is a way that we can overcome this error. So by simply removing option explicit. Now let us execute this line. It is showing integer and then string. So the question is, what does option explicit do? So option explicit is a compiler directive which says that you need to declare variable explicitly. So as a standard practice, it is always good to write option explicit. We would always want to declare our variables explicitly. It makes the code more understandable and we have more control over the programming. Now let me introduce you to function procedures. So before that, there is a small example. So in this example, I want to evaluate the square of that any given number added to the cube of that number. Say for I want to evaluate I square plus I cube. Now let me execute this program. Now it gives me 36. So this is one way of writing it. But imagine what if this expression becomes very complex and it becomes difficult to manage, or say for instance you need to evaluate square of I, then say square of another number. So you need to evaluate square multiple times. For avoiding repetitive work, we would create a function. So here I have written two functions, square and cube. So a function may or may not take a parameter. So it may take 0 or more than 0 parameters as input. Again, it depends, it may or may not return a value. So here in this case it is returning an integer type. Let me execute it and show you. So first the square function will be called and the value of I will be passed as a parameter and it will be assigned to A. Now in order to return the value, we would assign the value, calculated value, to the name of the function itself, square. If you select this value and press Shift F9, you can see that it has evaluated to 9. Now similarly cube will evaluate, and now it will display the result. Now let me try to do the same thing with the sub procedure. Let me convert it to sub. See, it gives an error, expected end of statement. It is saying that the statement should end here, there should be nothing after this. So sub procedure does not return any value, though it may take parameter as input. So if I try to evaluate this, so here it is saying expected function. So because it's a sub procedure and sub procedure does not return any value, so the compiler is saying that I need a function here which can return me value so that I can add it to the next statement. Now let us see another use of sub procedure. Close this window and let us go back to the design view, and we would insert a shape. So it would work as a button, and you would add some text to it, say click me. Now you would right click on this and select assign macro. Now you can see in this list only my proc is visible. So we would conclude that only procedures can be assigned as macro to any shape or any button or any control. Now once you click on this, so it runs the macro or sub procedure. So let us quickly summarize the similarities and difference. So in similarities, we have both function and sub procedure accept parameter as input. In differences, we have 2 points, like function may or may not return a value, sub procedure can never return a value, and unlike function procedures, sub procedure can be assigned as macro to any control or shape. This concludes our today's session. Thanks for listening.